Okay. Oh, camera. There we are. Hello, people. Today it's the Pirate Edition. We've got rock vibrations, synthetic dread, Persian scribe, and shortly Dan Falconback. And I've called this today Under Pressure because the globe is under pressure. So I want to just ask the different people here to give us their opinion, to just voice their opinion on what they think might be one of the biggest problems for the globe, which is really going to be asking Persian scribe. So, Jason, what do you think is the biggest problem for the globe right now?
I just think the momentum of people asking questions, quite simply.
Yes.
There are so many talented people from so many diverse backgrounds that are not fools.
Also, and what they're bringing, like the minute they brought out those 7 planets, immediately they were being called 7 CGI planets. It's immediate, no period of time whilst people think of a way of rebutting it. Just immediately, oh, you found 7 new CGI planets, have you? So, hey, Daniel, we're live. I've introduced you to everyone. And I just asked Persian Scribe what he thinks might be the biggest problem, seeing as this is called Under Pressure, what he sees as might be the biggest problem for the globe right now. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think might be the one or any of the things that would be putting the globe under pressure? Daniel, if you keep playing that game whilst you're on a hangout and you keep not answering. So Dan, what do you think is something that's got the globe under pressure compared to the flat earth? You're muted, by the way. You're muted. Daniel. Is Daniel frozen? No. Dan, you're muted. You're muted. There you are.
Hello?
Hello. There you are.
Yeah, it says there's an error loading my app. That's the first time that's ever happened.
I messed up. I loaded 2 Hangouts at once. So what do you think? What do you think is the single most crucial thing putting the globe under pressure right now?
It's 2000.
Jason said the popularity of the flat Earth, how quickly it's growing. What do you think?
The fact that it's not going away, and that they said it was going to go away in 2014, and they said it was going to go away in 2015. They said it was going to go away in 2016, and they said it was going to go away in 2017, and it's just not going away, and it's gaining more and more traction, more ground.
And with more traction and more ground and more minds, more skills too. So now there are really skilled computer programmers. There is really skilled visual artists. There are really skilled researchers. Or not mentioning the professions like the sailors and the pilots and the military personnel that have come out. And more will come out. Sooner or later, NASA employees will come out. I was contacted last year by a NASA employee asking, saying that he wasn't convinced the Earth was flat, but if he could be of any help, chatting and discussing things, he'd be happy to. I communicated back with him, and then nothing more. So
another thing is that the control, the obvious controlled damage when Joe Rogan has Neil deGrasse Tyson come out, and you have Bill Nye responding to Kyrie Irving, and same with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and same with Bill Maher. When you have all these people responding and making fun of the flat Earth, it just brings more attention to it, because we're already seasoned veterans. We've dealt with the attitude and the ad hominem and strawmans and all the insults. So we've been dealing with that for years and years and years. So when all the controlled damage it's so obvious now. Like when this flat Earth proof comes out, because we have so much of it, so many different people and so many different experiments and proof, and then all of a sudden all the controlled damage, and they have to bring the numbers back to their globalist side. They have to get it's just easy. It's so easy to spot. There's a lot of pussies involved in it too. There's a lot of power abusing pussies that are trying to distract and divide the movement, the reality, the flat Earth awakening.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I've called attention to it before. Like, yeah, you have to have a higher integrity than the globelings. We must have more integrity, more bona fide research. You might make videos and make mistakes, But if you're going to do research, you have to do the research. You can't just go on hearsay. This reminds me of a series of messages I had with Glenn McIntosh. So I'm going to read them to you, okay? First, I'll tell you what I think is the biggest problem for the globe right now. It's the logical impossibility of what people have been referring to as the pressure variance, the positive pressure next to negative pressure. Vacuum of space is not strictly speaking a negative pressure. It's a neutral pressure or zero pressure. It doesn't count as negative. But to have a positive pressure system next to a zero pressure system is a logical impossibility. Now, I was referring to this some time ago. Last year, I was debating with Globelings, and I was asking them for the boundary condition, because anything like a globe with an atmosphere, that atmosphere has to reach a point at which it establishes boundary conditions, a boundary between a 0.1 pressure to the point where it's all zeros. There has to be a boundary. There's a point at which it must reach a boundary, and that boundary must have conditions. So this is the boundary that's missing, this boundary that must be there to keep these two different pressure systems side by side. So that's what I think is the biggest problem for them. So when they come to us and say, you can't answer the sudden start, you can't answer your atmosphere, because their globe is predicated on the basis of it having this bubble of atmosphere that's not actually a bubble. That's just a fade to nothing, fade to black. So I'm going to read these comments. This is really because Glenn McIntosh, he loves to debate with me, and he keeps falling into pitfalls all the time. And so he might make a gay video about me or something like he did in the past. So I'm going to read the messages word for word, okay? You'll have to bear with me. It might be a bit boring for you. This comes on the back of a less said in chat to leave due to mic problems. Oh, shame. Raw vibrations had to leave. Rock vibrations had to leave because of mic problems. She was having mic problems before she joined. This comes on the back of a video I made where in a comment I mentioned to somebody that the moon was transparent and that astronomers had make a note of it in the 1800s, which Glenn McIntosh referred to as hearsay. So I'm going to read these messages, okay, guys? It's only going to be a couple of minutes. Okay, ish. Maybe, never mind. Let's see. Sorry, guys, I just lost where I was because I scrolled. Okay, so a few days ago, I go in there and he says, hey, you had the wrong eclipse. You were showing the eclipse from the north of Brazil when really you should have been showing the eclipse from the south of Brazil. If you're showing the eclipse from the south of Brazil, it's identical to that predicted on time and date. I said, no, the eclipse from the south of Brazil is the opposite of that predicted time and date. The real eclipse went up the sun. The predicted eclipse went down the sun. And then we scrutinized the video. We looked at the guy, Diago, I think it was called, the guy who'd posted the video of that eclipse from southern Brazil. We looked at his video. We found where he lives. We found the roof that he filmed and the satellite dish. And I said to them, this place, at the highest point of its sun, which is not when they had the eclipse, the sun didn't reach higher than 67 degrees elevation. You can see from the video, he's looking higher than 67 degrees. So what height is difficult to establish, but that it's higher than 67 degrees can be established. So this is what he said. Okay, just wanted to say thanks for admitting your mistake with the Brazilian comparison video despite all delusional ramblings. By the way, I won't editorialize. I'll just read what was said by each. I would like to announce my retirement from all my efforts to show you how pig stupid you are. Much love. I replied, kisses. I then, on a message where he said that the comment about the moon being transparent, where he said, oh, that's hearsay, I said, philosophical transactions of the Royal Society is hearsay. So I quoted him. He says, please respond on YouTube. I had done. I said, did do a long time ago. Okay, just got in. I think you ought to retract your comment. I'll put my hand on my chest when it's me talking. That way, oh, no, wait, I can do a voice. I will, I'll do a voice. I think you ought to retract your comment.
Why?
Because it's false.
I'm not saying that the transactions is hearsay, but the bit you were referring to.
Then go and spend some time looking through the journals. They're all there online.
You should admit your mistakes, like a real man would. Blocked and deleted anyone in your safe space.
Yes, you should indeed. Like saying hearsay without having first checked.
Yeah, I checked.
You checked what?
The book itself.
It's not a book, clown shoe.
So?
So don't lie, because I'm keeping these texts.
Lie about what?
The book itself, in inverted commas.
Oh, sorry if I misrepresented a book when it should be a journal, like comparing southern to northern Brazil as the same place.
I say, you mean misinterpreting a book for 177 books?
Whatever, go back to your delusional ramblings, all because you are never wrong.
I was wrong for decades when I believed we lived on a magical spinning globe. If somebody had pointed out that it was a delusion, I probably would have reacted like you are doing now. Like you are doing now that I am pointing out you're living a delusion.
Question: how many non-YouTube family and friends have you convinced the Earth is flat in 2 years?
I say, why are you asking? Is there a number that will then convince you? Oh, well, if that's how many people are convinced, then I'm convinced too. Haha, found it. You and whomever it was that was also being a prick are both busted. Hearsay, huh? Laugh out loud, making vid. So I made the vid and I posted it.
Not many family and friends, is it? Surely someone of your intellect would persuade a few folk, and I am the clown shoes?
I said, well, when someone thinks that 177 books means the same as one book, then yes, that's clown shoes.
What? When did I say that?
I quote him, oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry if I misrepresented a book when it should be a journal.
How many people, in his voice.
How many people, have you convinced? Simple question.
I say, retract your conceited deceit about hearsay if you want me to answer that.
Usual behaviour, sad.
I know you keep changing subject after ignoring a point that has been referenced by you. You asked, when did I say that? I answered, quoting you, and you ignored my answer and tried to hide that by moving on to another question. Now I am the one doing the asking. Are you going to retract your conceited, deceitful comment about hearsay?
Two men say something, report to another, yeah, hearsay.
So science is hearsay now?
By the way, you did not answer my how many people question. A simple number will suffice.
Hearsay. Focus. That's it. This is the kind of conversation and ramblings that I get from Globelings on my phone. In fact, it was texting me whilst I was making the video. This kind of conversation that starts off from somebody really messing up, you're pointing out that they've really messed up, and instead of them admitting that they messed up or owning up to them having messed up by virtue of them having lied, not having misinterpreted, or he said that he'd check after I said, why don't you check? Okay, this is the typical strategy of the Globeling. And this is a friend of mine. This is a friend of mine who lost a bet to me. He bet me, and this is where if I have any kind of reputation, this is where my reputation is going to go quickly. He bet me, well, no, I'll give you the details. When I was chatting with Patricia and doing lots of hangouts with her before she came to the UK, we planned to go to Oxford. And me and she were already discussing her moving here when she ran out of money in August. That was the plan. So she came here in June. Before June, they said to me, oh, you like Patricia, don't you? I said, yeah, she's nice. Yeah, well, she would never sleep with you. I'm like, where's that come from? They go, oh, look at you. You'd like them. Like, what is this? Like children. They make a video about me and Eratosthenes, where one of them is holding a book called Patricia Steer, Men I Would Never Sleep With by Patricia Steer. And on the back of the book is a photograph of me. Okay, so I knew Patricia was coming. I knew that we had something going on, and I knew that we would, be sleeping together. So I said to them, do you know what? From the book that you've made, you've made me think. I've been thinking about it, and yes, I would like to sleep with Patricia Steer. So I think it will happen. I think I'll just magic it from the universe. Okay, and they bet me. They said, I bet you £100 that you won't. So they bet me. And then when I turned up with Patricia 2 weeks later, their faces just fell. This is Glenn McIntosh and Graham Eller. Neither of them have paid yet. So these are the kind of things that Globelings do. Not just the silly bets, but also the silly, literally retarded arguments where they'll say, I've checked the thing you said I should check. And when you say, oh, have you? It turns out that they haven't. This is the pressure. Math Powerland put a comment out recently about flat earthers being attacked, about how we're now at the stage of violent opposition. And I would say, I say bring on the violent opposition, because violent opposition is the last stage before truth is accepted, is accepted. Okay, so bring on the violent opposition. We've seen Political Hillbilly has seen abusive comments, copy pasted, basically harassment, continuous, 20 of them. I've had a resurgence of trolls. I'm sure other people that are making videos have also had a resurgence of trolls. It's a desperate move, and this desperation becomes violence at one point. We've already dealt with the emotional violence of the abusive comments, but they know that they don't affect us, so they've moved to other tactics. So, to answer the question, what's the most critical thing that's putting the globe under pressure? I would say what both Persian Scribe and Dan Falkenbach have said, that it's growing and that it's not stopping, and that the details, from my side, that the details, the actual fine details, prop the flat earth and burst the globe. There are no details that support the globe and burst the flat earth unless you choose to see the stars outside of the barrierless atmosphere in the southern pole as being this. So I say we're doing pretty well as flat earthers.
I agree.
Good, because that was a long freaking bunch of me talking.
Oh, no.
I'm going to pass a link to somebody. Oh, yeah. A guy called George. You might want to join. A cool dude. He's in Canada.
I forgot Trev is making food for his kids.
Yeah. Let me see. Where's George? By the way, guys, sorry for me going on about that comment. It really makes me chuckle because I know that he'll watch it tomorrow. I've offered. He came this close to debating me on Google, on YouTube. He came this close to debating me until another of the Globelings pointed out that he was going to look a fool, and then he backtracked. So let me send George a link.
Yeah, that seems to always happen.
Yeah. So I even said to him, look, I'll write off the £100 you owe me from you losing that idiotic bet that you proposed if you'll come on the debate. But no, he's that's what he is.
Yeah, that's what I noticed.
Hey, Antonio.
Yes.
I've heard others say that it's kind of fruitless to even have a debate because neither side has an ability to prove one way or the other. We can provide evidences, but not actual proof. What would you say to that criticism or to that viewpoint?
Okay, usually
I've been hearing the Globelings say that a lot.
Why would they be saying that? It's because they don't have anything. We do. Usually a debate is between two. Let me compose my thoughts and let me think. Let me remember what it's like to listen to Jordan Peterson. And by that, I don't mean making big pauses, okay? He only does that when he's really composing his thoughts. Okay, usually debates are arguing two abstract concepts. That's what debates usually are. They are arguing for or against an abstract concept, like democracy versus dictator or whatever. When you're talking about concrete facts, like real physical fact, to enter into the debate is stupid for the person who's going to claim that those are not fact. So the only way that they can engage in a debate like that is to call for subjective reality as being superior to objective reality. So, for instance, the fact that there isn't any curvature over the oceans, over all the land that isn't actually undulating, the Salar de Uyuni and the Lake Baikal in Siberia. These places are flat. They've been tested by non-flat Earth scientists and been determined to be flat. They have been published in papers calling it an isotopic anomaly. So you have real world, concrete fact, and you have theoretical world of abstract fact. Now, you cannot have an abstract fact. That's not a fact. That's a circumstance or a belief, but it's not a fact. So well, I won't go into the philosophical foundations for that. But when you're having a debate where you have concrete fact versus lack of concrete fact, the only resource that the person on the side of the lack of concrete facts is to dissimulate, to disguise, to obfuscate, to abuse, to demean. That's the only thing they have, because we have concrete fact like flatness, lack of curvature, and their arguments that are predicated on a spinning ball are founded on this range of atmosphere that somehow is missing boundary conditions. The boundary conditions, everything has boundary conditions. Everything that exists, even magnetism, even nebulous ethereal qualities have boundary conditions. Even the ether itself has a boundary condition to the point that it starts being an atom, or a photon. So their version of the world is missing something that exists everywhere. In anything that exists, it has a boundary condition. So if people want to go into the subatomic and talk about the quantum realm where matter gets to the point where it's vibration, well, that vibration has to be localized. Otherwise, it wouldn't be discernible as vibration, because the equipment, the atmosphere, and the thing wouldn't have anything to distinguish it. So that's not existence as we have in the real world. So the situation we have right now is we have nothing on the side of the globe other than asking us a question about the celestial South Pole, where we have question to ask them about the lack of boundary conditions of the atmosphere and flatness, lack of curvature, buoyancy and density. And to back it up, we have scientific research that shows flatness, density and buoyancy, and the fact that everything that exists has boundary conditions. Thoughts are experienced. They don't exist. This is the thing. So they're not the same as universals, Platonic universals, like triangles that exist, whether or not you're conceiving of them. So things that exist have boundaries, and those boundaries have boundary conditions. If the Earth were a globe and it had an atmosphere, the atmosphere itself would have a boundary condition that would denote the difference between the atmosphere and the lack of atmosphere. There you go. Jesus, why am I doing all the talking?
No, you're 100%
It's because you're
right,
playing
man.
a game, that's why.
Because I have no fucking patience to listen to fucking globe heads repeat themselves. It's like, dude, these people are missing a soul, and they replace their soul with a fucking ego. They think their ego is a soul. But your ego isn't your soul. There's no such thing as the ego. I can say there's no such thing as a soul too. These things are fucking words. I'm so sick of not knowing, and I'm so sick of people not admitting that they don't know. It's like, if you admit that you don't know, you're more advanced and involved than other people. Yet when other people you just admitted that you don't know. You don't know. I'm admitting I don't know. But you think that you do know everything, and that's why you have a globe model to explain away everything that you don't know. And that's why I don't have any fucking patience for those people.
I tell you another thing they do, another absolutely sublime quality of theirs, okay? And it's a quality of duplicity, which is this. You'll have a debate with them, and you're asking questions, and they're asking questions. So they ask a question, you give an answer. You ask a question back, their answer is, I don't know. Then they ask another question, you give another answer. Then you ask a question, their answer is, I don't know. And this goes on for 17 rounds until they ask you a question where you say, I don't know. And they go, as you say. And they don't see the lunatic. They don't see it. They don't see how absurd that is. They literally, this is the cognitive dissonance point, but it can't actually be cognitive dissonance because they have to be registering the fact that they've said, I don't know. Hey, George, you need to turn your mic on.
I gotta be like, we're joking.
I've muted you, George. You need to put headphones on because you're causing echo.
What's up, guys?
Hey,
What's up, George?
that was fast.
Yeah, no, I whipped that dinner together real quick and ate it. I think the kids enjoyed it too, so that's all that matters, right?
Cool. How old are they, by the way?
I've got identical twin boys that are 16.
Wow. How did I not know that?
I thought you knew that, yeah.
16-year-old twin boys.
Yeah.
Well, if I heard it, I must have been really distracted.
Yeah, maybe.
How are they?
We're connected now with so many thousands of people online. It's hard to get everybody's life story right. You know?
Yeah, no, but that's not an easily forgettable thing. So I must have been. Yeah.
It's been a really
question
amazing. I'll tell you, it's been a real interesting adventure journey.
So they are identical twin boys, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Most people can't tell them. Still.
Do they have girlfriends?
On and off, yeah.
Is one a globe head and one a flat earther?
One's a bit more open-minded to it than the other.
So which one? Which one? The younger or the older?
Well, they're only 2 minutes apart, bro.
Yes, but there's a difference.
Yeah, I guess.
It's the younger one.
The older one is very, very gifted. They're both like honor roll students. I noticed one of them is he's analytical, science-minded, right? He really grasps, trigonometry and algebra and all these things. No problem. For me, I was like, I avoided it like the plague in high school. I was like, put me in art class. I don't want it. I took math 11A. It's like modified math, the easiest math that I could get away with to get my graduation, right? And so I just did that. Good enough. Get me out of here. Get me out of this crazy, I always thought of school as a good place to socialize your kids or you, as far as, it's an indoctrination school, but you learn social skills and how to behave around others, and that's important stuff. You can, I don't know if homeschooled kids are as privy to that kind of, and learning what a schoolyard mentality is like, right?
Yes,
and learning the different aspects of social
dynamics. Yes, there's an interesting point that has been made recently by Jordan Peterson. The socialization of children pretty much is encapsulated by the time they're 4. If they haven't got it by the time they're 4, if they haven't understood that you can't force people to play the game you want them to play, that you can't force your reality on them, if you haven't got that by the time you're 4, you're not going to get it. And now what we have is a lot of millennials, what are being referred to as millennials, the children of Generation X.
That's mine and me.
Yeah, whose parents went through the process of the education being fragmented, the education system being demolished, basically, being retarded, the television and entertainment industry being less educational and more distraction. And as a consequence...
add to that, all these actors and comedians being elevated to the level of people we're supposed to look up to for knowledge.
Yeah.
On top of what you're talking about, too.
Yeah. So the idea which has been pushed by the propagandists that school is good for socialization, it's like, no, actually, school is good for traumatization.
Oh,
you see, if in life, we do have this situation. In life, you're at a job, you're being bullied. What you can do is report it and have that person fired, or quit your job and go somewhere else and no longer be bullied. But at school, you can't do that. That's the big difference between the school indoctrination and the wider world. So the playground, you
kind of have to learn to cooperate with each other, right? You have to learn to work with others, and maybe that's unfair on some levels, but at the same time, maybe it's important as well.
Yeah. Oh no, this is the thing, that to have to deal with people that you don't particularly want to deal with, that is something you're going to learn in life, whether at school or not. It's going to happen. Dealing with situations that you're not predicting and you don't welcome. That's life. That is going to happen, Mm-hmm. But this is stretched to the socialization, as in, this way you'll know how to share. This way, it's like, no. If they haven't got it by the time they're 4, they're not going to get it.
They're not going to get it. That reminds me of that other statistic I heard. If people haven't tried cigarettes or smoking pot or drinking by the time they're 21, chances are they're never going to do it. That's what I read.
Yeah, probably.
So, I guess that you hit certain markers in your life, and I guess there's no turning back, apparently, eh? That's rough.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, George, you're not wearing your headphones. I hope when you talk, it doesn't...
How's it now?
Much better.
Great.
Yeah. Now it's perfect.
I switched the microphone, so it should be okay.
Have you been on any Hangouts before this?
This is my first, buddy.
Excellent.
Oh, right on.
You see, this is why I came on YouTube in the first place, to get other people to come.
Yeah. So, hey, you want to hear a good story? 2 weeks ago, I pulled my youngest daughter out of the public school system my girlfriend told the school that it was just temporary, some personal reasons. She didn't tell him the truth. I told her to tell him the truth. But anyways, with 10 days later, Children's Aid called.
Okay.
And they showed up at the house, right? And I wasn't there, but my girlfriend talked to them. But it's amazing, right? And and they said, well, we're here to care for the child, right? But where were they the first 9 years of her school, right? But as soon as you pull them out, then they want to take control. It's ridiculous.
So what's the situation now?
Oh, everything's okay for now, but they're monitoring. They don't want anyone. They don't want a whole bunch of people to start homeschooling their children, right?
Is it legal in Canada?
Yeah,
no,
I'm in Canada.
But I've
got friends that homeschool.
Yeah. So George, Jason, you've got these guys here. Okay, in case you don't know them, Daniel Falcon back.
Hello.
Jason
Hello.
B. Styles. That's his channel is Persian Scribe.
Yeah, I've seen him before.
Yeah, and Synthetic Dread is the other Jason, and Synthetic Dread is in Canada.
Nice to meet you, man.
Yes, I'm also in Canada.
Oh yeah, whereabouts?
Vancouver Island.
Okay, the other side.
Oh, you're on the far side, are you?
Yeah, I'm just outside of Toronto.
Oh, cool.
So homeschooling. What?
So anyhow, what they want to make sure. I couldn't find a good homeschooling online course from Canada, so I subscribed to one in the U.S.
Uh-huh.
And it you know what, it's not that good, but at least it covers the basics, but it still follows Common Core guidelines. But the issue is here, the Common Core, yeah, it's horrible, but they want to make sure that even if you homeschool, you still follow the Canadian curriculum, right? So it's just brutal. It's horrible.
Damn, it's like double the brainwashing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if the education system doesn't get them, the media and entertainment industry will. So
Or religion.
It's a pretty tough battle. I've just tried to educate my kids with the knowledge I've received over the last few years and let them make decisions themselves. Just simply look at the world through your own eyes and filter the information through your own judgment. Don't always take things on face value from people you don't know.
Correct. Because children, they want to learn. Like in their free time, they're doing experiments. They want to learn. But when they go in the public school system, they teach the wrong things, and kids lose motivation. So that's it's totally horrible.
Well, my theory is that the public school system is only designed or geared towards maybe 40-50% of the population, and I believe the rest of the population needs a different form of being educated, hands-on maybe, education, like a trade school type of environment. I've seen schools in the West Coast here that have music as their basis of every other subject. They learn science through music, they learn math through music. It's actually possible. They have these music schools that you learn your regular school through. And so there's so many different possibilities and different avenues that people should probably be able to look at. But, you're looking at a lot of money when you start looking outside the public school system, right?
So I have a question for you, George. Have you heard of Montessori schools?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Do you have them over there?
Yes, we do.
Do you have any in your area?
Yeah, you know what? I haven't investigated it. I with all the information available online, I was reluctant to enroll her in a private school. My eldest daughter went 3 years in private school, and she got a better education than the public school. But I think that's more because the classroom size is smaller, and also the teachers in the private school system, they only make about half of what a public school teacher makes. So you get a lot of younger teachers, and I think they try harder because they ultimately want to get in the public school system. So they want to show what they can do. But that's just another way that whole system is corrupt, right? Because you have to go to college, you have to get a degree, and the government makes sure the teachers are well paid, so they support the system and keep it going, right? But I don't really think you need any special skills to teach, right? No. Like we all teach our children every day, right?
The one thing I do believe that you should have, the one thing you should have as a teacher, I've been a music teacher to different age groups my whole life almost, and I think the one thing you really do need is that desire to truly want to teach people. Like, I think a lot of teachers get into it and damn, they just don't have it. They just truly don't have that desire to really want to teach the kids that, or they get burnt out so fast from the system that they just don't want to be there anymore.
It's like going into the Marines or the military. You join for a quote unquote moral or noble cause, and then once you're there, and then you get orders to wait. You gotta get orders to wait. You gotta wait on waiting and wait at the spot to then wait next, and then you. Oh, and by the way, the whole entire system is a lie, because you go into that and you sign your name on a contract saying you can't talk about what you're about to experience. So you're going into a brainwash cult of globalism, and you're not allowed to even talk about it. Your horrible traumatic experiences of being brainwashed once you get out of it. And then you start talking with your family, and you go like that, and you start getting weird tics, when you're with your friends, and then you go, hey dude, what the fuck was that? And you go, oh yeah, you just went,
you had some like nerve gas.
You just it's called a tic, and PTSD, what you said. So because you were a saw gunner and you had a saw gun, and you're not allowed to talk about the bullets in the trigger that you pulled and the amount of people that you killed, and the amount of people that you saw your friends die, either jumping on bombs or getting blown up by RPGs. Yeah, that's a whole other thing into it.
If you think about it, what they do is this is how it works, okay? And this is how it works on parents too, because let's not forget, the majority of people who join the army have parents, So it's worked on the parents. The parents encourage it. The parents don't say, "Are you freaking nuts? What are you doing joining?" Right? So
here's a little baby's joining in the Marines. Oh, my baby! I'm so worried about my little hero.
But no, dude, I tell you what. This silent weapons for quiet wars. Quiet weapons for silent wars. That should be mandatory reading. Okay, because in that it gives you the elite's view of the goy. It doesn't call them goy, but it tells you exactly how they see us, and it tells you exactly how they brainwash. They brainwash the mothers so that the soldiers would be heroic. Because if the mothers disapproved of soldiers, the boys would not join the army. They want to please their mothers. But what happens is this. The person has a well-rounded personality. That well-rounded personality makes a judgment call that it's moral to join the army to defend the defenseless. That's their person, their internal being makes that judgment. When they join the army, like Dan said, they learn to switch off that internal person, that internal being.
Exactly.
The moral judgment call, they learn to switch that off.
It's called following orders.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're the most dangerous people, right? The ones that follow orders.
You're an order follower.
The ones that learn to switch off. The guys who learn to switch off, those guys, okay, they have to learn to switch off. Otherwise, they will not be able to do what they do.
And the problem is they probably don't know how to switch back on again, right?
But this is the thing. The thing is, the person, when they switch back on, they're switching on. They're not switching on in battle. They're not switching on in a 40-mile march.
Because they've been altered.
Yeah, it's
mentally.
It's compartmentalization is what it is. They switch off. The term is switch off, and they tell each other if one's fucking suffering because of whatever they're doing, the other guys will tell them to switch off. They don't mean go to sleep. They mean stop monitoring your actions. Stop having your consciousness in what you're doing. Make your consciousness go somewhere else. Switch it off.
So let me go a little bit further, Antonio, with that train of thinking. So when the military or when the Marines, you get blindfolded or a bag over your head, or you literally are in a van and you get out of it and there's like footprints. There's a whole bunch of footprints. So depending on all the people in the van, 6 to 12 people or whatever, they get out of the vehicle, and as soon as actually they park and they drive, they're immediately starting to get the fuck off the truck, get the fuck off the bus, and they're told to go get in your positions where their feet, where the line up, soldiers, and so right there it begins, and they don't even know it. But I'm going to tell you, they will break. It's like hypnotism. It's like a hypnotist. A hypnotist doesn't want someone with a strong brain power like me, who is going to laugh at them for trying to hypnotize. I'm echoing in the background, but whatever.
Yes, George, will you mute your mic?
So they don't. I'm going to compare the Marines' hypnotism when they get off the bus to go to boot camp and actually become a Marine. I'm going to compare that to magic hypnotists. So they don't want a strong-minded person, but I'll tell you what they do with those strong-minded people. They go, they do their tests because they have their lieutenants and their corporals and their sergeants. So they have their sergeants and their lieutenants and captains, and those people are already completely brainwashed and mind-washed with globalism. They're already very good soldiers, and the people above them are they get to tell them what to do. So, but those people, the higher up above people, are lazy and they don't go onto the bases very often, and they don't go into the lower ranks with the troops and with the goyim, whatever you want to call them. So they assign. They go, okay, the captain, the soldier, the captain, the sergeant, and lieutenant. They assess the mental willpower and brain power and fortitude, soul power of the soldiers that just got off the bus, because they go, well, this guy's not really listening. He's smirking. He's laughing. He doesn't want to. He's not going to be a good listener. He's not malleable. He's not pliable. I can't make him into a good little globalism propagator slave. So I'm going to turn him into a small guns technician, and I'll just make him into a small arms technician, and he'll just take apart little small guns in a little in one of the bases, and he'll be with his friends waiting. They'll be playing video games, and they talk to their friends, and like me, and they're saying, dude, I'm just waiting here. This sucks. And so they become a small guns technician, or what's that card? They take apart small guns and they put them apart. They put them together. But then with the people who are easy to brainwash and easy to mind wash and mold into a puppet of destruction, they turn those people into machine gunners, and they put them and then they put those brainwashed globalists, and they go, here, you want a saw gun? You want to go on the field? You want to be a gunner? You want to go on the back of a truck and hold that gun and be that cool Call of Duty guy that you were playing last year? You were playing Call of Duty last year, but now you're playing Call of Duty in real life. And your parents think you're a fucking hero when you're all a bunch of brainwashed idiots supporting war and terror.
Yeah. And they're just told to switch off. Oh, just switch off if you have a problem.
And then, I'm sorry, this is my final point. And those are the people who I don't speak to anymore. It's a shame I can't even speak to them, because they can't even talk to me, because I represent the truth.
Sorry, Dan. Jason, you're causing echo.
The one guy who I told you was who's screaming out with his tics because he probably shot a whole bunch of fucking people, and he can't talk about it because you're not allowed to. And they think they're too strong, and they think it's weak to go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And then once you do go to a psychologist, and then what do? Oh, they give you pills, don't they? Yeah. And then what happens to those guys? They don't really support the veterans, do they? They give them pills. They don't support them. Pretty strange.
A lot more of them die when they come home than did when they were out in the battlefields. Like in terms of actual people who die from suicide in their home countries compared to the people who died abroad. So
somebody in the chat, C-Part Kids, dude, too much truth. Stop. Yeah, I know. That's what it's like to be my friend in real life. Like, I'm just sitting here. I'm gonna play video games, Final Fantasy 15. Just leave me alone with my roommate. But when you really want to start talking to me as a soul person, as a real person, and get into my thoughts and release your own thoughts, it's weird how our egos come out and how people go, dude, stop it, man. You're too intense, dude. Too much truth, dude. Yeah. Wow. You're too much of a fake.
You might have been joking.
Yeah.
You might have been joking. Can you hear my mic? How is that?
It's poor.
Too quiet? Okay, I'll turn it up. Check.
No, it's okay. When you said "how's that," there was an electric vibration afterwards, but it's okay now.
Oh, okay. It sounds good like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why is that going. Maybe the speakers that Dan was talking through were going to my mic.
So sometimes it's your position. You know, you might be talking from this position and everything's okay, and you change the dynamics of the room when you move, and suddenly you have a different situation. It's fine now, though. It's okay. Oh, I said, but no, it's not.
Yeah, no, Dan, I agree. I think the biggest kick in the nuts, though, to these guys is when they do snap out of it, or when they come to, is learning that they weren't these heroes that they thought they might have been. They weren't removing evil dictators. They were just protecting the business interests of the American people, right? And same for every government. They were just protecting their business interests in every war that we've seen, right? It doesn't come down to playing the good guys or getting rid of weapons of, blah, blah, blah. It's not about that. It's not about taking the oil from Iraq. It was never about that. It was about the American petrodollar being threatened. If you follow it, and to learn that as a soldier, it's got to be crushing when you've dedicated your life to something that you think is a good cause, right? I'm sure at least a good percentage of soldiers join the army because they want to make the world a better place, right? I don't think, some of them obviously join because maybe they're left with no other options in life. I know that happens quite often, but some of them I think genuinely want, they're like, they reckon themselves a hero, or they reckon themselves a do-gooder that can make a difference. So I commend the attitude and the...
a lot of racism anymore, too.
Yeah.
Racism?
It's part of it. It's the dehumanization of the enemies is necessary. You have to. You have to. So you have the names. You don't refer to them as Germans. You refer to them as Krauts. You don't refer to them as Japanese. You refer to them as Nippons, Japs, whatever. You don't refer to them as their nationality. When you have revolutionary wars, civil wars, it's the same thing. You don't refer to them as their region or their what they're fighting for. You refer to them as something derogatory about the banner for which they're fighting.
Right, exactly. Well put.
Yeah, remember all the propaganda from World War II, the posters and just like the pictures of the Germans as monsters, and I don't think the populace would fall for that propaganda today. It's beyond that, but looking back, you're going didn't the people see through that? But they didn't.
Well, they're already they've been trying for a long time with the Muslims, but it's not quite actually taking hold. You've got the flight ban. It's not actually a flight ban. It's an immigrant vetting system, and every country is supposed to. Every country has them, but they don't actually follow them. Britain has them. Every country has a vetting process for immigrants. So what they're doing with Muslims is they're saying all Muslims X. It's like, no. That's the same as saying Krauts or Japs.
Yeah.
It's a brainwashing tactic to make Muslims not human, and that's what they do. And that's what we get told the Germans did to the Jews, and that's what was done to us about the Germans or the Japanese, and it's the same story every time,
Yeah.
But the big thing is, if you know who controls you, what's the saying? If you want to know who controls you, see who you can't criticize. Something like that. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. It's after 4 in the morning. My brain's not working as badly as there you go.
Well, no worries, bro.
That ties into what you were talking about before, the question you asked about the pressure that globelings are under, and the kind of the dichotomy that we are expecting to have between flat earthers versus globe earthers. And it's kind of the splintering of reality, the reality tunnels that we're in. Even with all this connective technology, we're disconnecting from one another on some level. And when you have augmented reality and virtual reality technology coming online here in the next few years, people are going to be splintering off into their own little realities even more. And I wonder even with the paradigm here in America with Republicans versus Democrats, you see a splintering of reality. It manifests itself in the media that we're exposed to. CNN and MSNBC are playing to the Democrats, and Fox playing to the Republicans, and it's almost like they treat the same event through totally different prisms. And so it's hard to have or find common ground. But as long as people disconnect from that and connect like how we're doing now, we may.
Yeah, that's been their strategy throughout history. Divide the people and conquer them, right? Just the duality.
Confuse to multiply.
That's confuse to multiply and divide to conquer. Yeah,
exactly.
So this is the confusion part. What you're saying, Jason, is so apt. But if you look, can't all of us see that it's failing? It was just apparently today was a strike of women. Apparently, I just learnt about it. Did you know this, guys? Worldwide, women not going to work to show solidarity for other women is a PR stunt by the third wave feminist / social justice warriors. It's
Women's Day.
Failed massively because women aren't stupid, and this is part of the problem that some of these people have. They assume that everybody else is more stupid than they are, when really to assume is a pretty stupid thing to do. And they're so stupid that they don't know this, and because of this, they work their way through the world blinkered, and they demand things, and they position themselves in places where they can dictate that it be women strike from work. It's not going to work because women aren't freaking stupid. And this is the thing. And you have a big smear campaign against Russia, a smear campaign against Muslims, a smear campaign against Jews. We had the huge smear campaign against Germans, smear campaigns against all kinds of people. And now people are starting to see the smear campaign instead of get hoodwinked by it. Yeah. So Hillary Clinton, I think it wasn't so much that Donald Trump won the election because he's such a charismatic, great guy. I think Hillary Clinton burned the Democratic because she's so shit and people could see through it. She was engaging in smear campaigns, and that was it. And he would rebut her smear campaign with something true and documented, as if she was stupid, as if she thought, well, all the women will side with me because I'm a woman, as if women aren't going to think, hold on a second, all the women your husband abused, they were women. We're going to side with them. We're going to look at you differently. So, yeah.
It's just stupid. It's all just the ridiculous illusion of choice that they give us anyways. So I could care less who the drama between the two and the creating these false situations that really bear no importance on our lives, right? So we get sucked into this crap that means nothing. These people have no true power. They are just the people, the puppets in place of the real people who are in power. So, meh, right?
And you know what? Also, months ago, we were doing hangouts where we were saying, where are the women? Where are the flat earth women? There's a huge disparity between men and women in the flat earth. Saying, not really. There's a disparity with the vocal flat earthers. The number of women who are vocal tiny compared to the number of men. It doesn't mean the number of people looking into it. In fact, at the beginning, there was rather a lot more women. The parity was a lot more similar at the very beginning. There were lots of women. There were lots of women thinking up experiments, way of demonstrating Coriolis effect, all kinds of stuff that they were showing, okay? But then it kind of went quiet because all kinds of hell broke loose. But now that women who are, we have to give it to them, they're more cautious. That's why they don't work on building sites and end up dying in bigger numbers than people in the military, like men do who work on building sites. So they've been watching and sussing it out and thinking, okay, at the point that they're thinking, not now it's safe, but okay, now I can help. At this point, and we're seeing it now, there's going to be more flat earth women coming to the flat earth, and this is the thing, more beautiful flat earth women, which is important to other women. Not just that they be beautiful physically. No, this is true. This is absolutely true. Not just that they be beautiful physically, but beautiful spiritually. And when other flat earth women see beautiful spiritually and physically flat earth women, they too will jump in, because birds of a feather flock together, and these things are true because that's how the world works. Nobody's made to hang out with a group of people that are similar to themselves, okay? But that's how society unfolds. That's just how it happens.
Yeah, that just reinforces bad decisions.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, like, we know it's not just from popular media. We know that the sporty guys hang out with the sporty guys, that the cerebral girls hang out with the cerebral girls, the girls with
pretty
the
girls. Usually hang out with other pretty girls.
Yes, so when
I don't think pretty girls like other pretty girls usually.
Well, it's in lower degrees, though. There's the main hot girl, and then she surrounds herself with her little less pretty minions.
Yeah, that's a different kind of world we're looking at, the whole pickup artist type slang. But the actual and the truth is, you get 5 women together, all of them beautiful, all of them thinking that she's the most beautiful, and there's 10 guys looking at them. They're not all 10 guys going to be looking at the same girl, and we know this. It's just how the world goes. Okay,
it's great.
So, but the thing is, when more beautiful flat earth women come into the flat earth, just because they're beautiful doesn't mean they're inept. Now, this is something that the media, with Marilyn Monroe, they always push this beautiful, therefore dumb. And it's like, no, that's not how it goes. You look at some of the most influential women in academia, like truly influential women in academia, and you'll see ridiculously beautiful women. And you think, if the model was what we were being taught, they wouldn't be influential. And they're not influential because they're beautiful. They're just really freaking switched on. Like, intelligence doesn't discriminate according to how you look. There might be people that push their kind of abilities to hedge forward because of how they look, if they have a kind of something that would otherwise draw them back. But the idea that beautiful equals stupid, that's gone. That's last century.
Yeah, that's a long gone stereotype, probably.
Yeah, and with more women will come more maverick left field ideas. Like, for instance, the loom that was invented by a woman. Huh. Okay, and you have the male perspective, female perspective. It made her work easier, and the work of everybody else who did her work, which was lots and lots of the women at the time. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the next year or two, because if we learn that a guy has found something really interesting, we go, oh yeah, cool. But we can see that guy doing that. We can see somebody who's obsessed with books, finding something really interesting in a book, and we can see that. But I'm saying we as in men, because we're all men right here, right now, not talking about the people listening. When women come out with stuff, we didn't see it coming. That's part of woman, the wonder. So
I wonder if
I'm looking forward to
does that lead into the whole men are from Mars, women Venus, and they're just coming from a different perspective in logic or reality, maybe? I mean, I find that I resonate with a lot of women. I get along with women really well, and I've met if I was to list off all the women I've met in the last year and a half in the flat earth community, there's tons. There's so many, and they're all, I've yet to meet one that's dumb, and they're all attractive. So I'm just like, wow, right? It's amazing. So, I think I don't see it as a male-dominated thing. I see flat Earth as not like any other subject we've dealt with. The way it brings people together, the way it gets people involved. There's just no other conspiracy or anything like it. It's remarkable.
All the other.
I think it resonates with women really well.
All the conspiracies are dead ends. All of the other conspiracies are dead ends. Let's look at vaccine. Dead end. In fact, if you really want to, kick that hornet's nest, you end up dead. It's like all of the other conspiracies end up at a point where there is nothing that you can do about them to resolve them. This one's different, because this one we all know that there is something we can do about
spreading the consciousness.
By simply pointing it out to people, Like David Wise used to say, one thing that he'd say to people is, "Hey, have you heard about flat Earth? Flat Earth rainbow chemtrails?" Flat Taxi, that guy, James, he used to do the same. He used to say to people, hey, have you heard about all this flat earth stuff on YouTube? And he used to start conversations like that.
So did I.
Good ideas. And recently, Karen Endicott, Karen B, was in a hangout, and she mentioned broaching the subject of flat earth whilst in a meal, in a restaurant, in a public place, and how everybody's craning, listening in. That's an excellent idea.
I told you, it's the only conversation that matters. I keep repeating myself. It's the only conversation on the planet. Literally, is globe versus flat. And if you just break it down, it just all boils down to that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's a good starting point. Let's figure out where we are a little bit better, a better understanding. At least remove the lies. And then we can start dealing with the real issues, because, Dan, honestly, it's not even the real issue. It's just the base for all the lies of all the other issues that we really need to deal with. Like the war we're talking about. All the import, the starvation, famine. Those are the things, right?
Hold on, sorry to interrupt you. Let me get this thought out. The flat
things
earth
that aren't being dealt with, that need to be giving homes to the homeless. These things can be accomplished. We know we have the resources to do it. We need the willpower that needs to be applied. So
exactly. The thing about the flat earth is so strange, because I haven't done psychedelics since I found the flat earth. And it's been like 3 years. It's been like since I was 28 years old. I'm 31 now. And so I haven't touched any psychedelics. And what I'm trying to say is that it's like talking about the flat earth sober to regular sober people is literally like tripping on mushrooms or DMT. For me, I'm saying this in my personal experience. Like, I've taken psilocybin in high doses of the exact way that Terrence McKenna describes to take DMT. And just being in those states of mind under going into the voids and breaking on through to the other side, as Jim Morrison says, and then coming back into this, and then finding out about the flat earth and discovering it. Like, I don't even need to talk. I don't even need to look for psychedelics or search for them, because it is the sober, like the flat earth is like a sober psychedelic. It's like if you study it, it's almost like being in the psychedelic realm. Mm-hmm. It's very very trippy.
Let's not forget that before breaking through to the other side, they were swimming to the moon. Let's swim to the moon. Let's swim to the moon.
What's that from?
From Jim Morrison.
Oh, was that from? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Swim to fly.
Let's swim to the moon. Let's climb through the tides.
Yeah, you're right.
I'll tell you what the flat Earth did to me. It really made me awake to how many other things which I just took for granted.
Exactly.
Right? Now, every time I look, I have a real ability just to see through bullshit and to analyze everything. So I'm constantly learning new things every day. I want to learn, right? Because before you're kind of dumbed down and they say, don't worry, the experts have told you everything you need to know, right? You're kind of in a zombie state. But now, I'm on a learning curve now, better than my best high school year, right? I'm just constantly want to research new stuff.
Yeah.
There's so much shit to learn.
And it helps with we must have all thought when we were back on the spinning globe, we must have thought, how come they can't find a cure for cancer? How come they can't figure out how to deal with poverty and hunger? How come they can't figure out how to share stuff without going to war? And now the conclusion is it's because they've been talking shit all the time, because they weren't being honest. They weren't actually studying the situation as it really is. They were portraying something for an end. That's what they were doing. That's why. And it doesn't exist. It's not just extant at the point of the media to us. It's in the background. All of the organization in the background. It's all about not having equality, progress. They talk about the depopulation of the earth, but they know, their own sociologists know, that the higher the developed nation, the lower the population count. In the developed West, it's 2.3 children. I think it's 1.6 children now, something like that. In the underdeveloped nations, it's 7 and 8 children. So, and they know that the higher the progress of a nation, the more work, the more industry, the more women working, the more time spent educating the children, all of those trappings that we have that we kind of don't appreciate because we're living now at the point where they have to progress. They can't stay, they're stifling now. So in those nations where society develops to the point of having a really good industry, naturally the number of population declines. That happens naturally. You don't have to vaccinate people so that they won't give birth to children. It happens naturally. Just allow their countries to develop. Stop retarding them, which is what the West has been doing to Africa through the IMF and the World Bank, like purposefully.
Yeah.
Antonio, can I say something real quick?
Of course.
I want to give you guys a quick technique that I want the panel and the listeners to learn that the globeheads try to use against us. They, since they have no since they're fakers and pretenders, and they actually don't want to learn your model, because you'll hear that. Well, okay, I'm done with you. All right, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? And they'll keep asking you questions while they're making fun of you. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So they're not actually looking to learn stuff off of you. The only thing that they're looking to learn off of you is a little bit of your model and your arguing techniques, because they don't want to convert. They're not interested in even being open-minded, because they're more interested in showing their ego and their their dick measuring contest, and trying to get laid with in the chat room, or the women that are around them. It's just a big show off dick measuring contest.
Yes, but 1 second, let me just point this out to people out there. What they're actually doing is the twisted vision through which they see themselves on a globe kind of magnifies the size of their penis. When they show it to other people say, "What are you showing that tiny little thing for?" That's what really happens. Sorry, go on, Dad.
No, it's just like I've noticed that so much. I know I can feel. I feel like basically like a spider. I have a spider sense now. What's
What's you gonna teach? Tell us a technique.
Well, it's these people. That's what I'm explaining to you. That they're pretending that they're interested in what you have to say.
Oh,
they're not. I'm telling you, the only thing that they're interested in is just learning what you know. They don't know what you know, so they just want to know.
I would kind of twist
why
it a
you
little
know
bit.
that. Why?
Would you agree with this? Would you agree that they're also maybe perhaps that's true what you're saying, but perhaps their main objective would be to humiliate you?
Yes.
I usually see it as humiliation in front of other people to reinforce them thing and make you look stupid. That's their goal.
Yeah.
They're not. You're right. They're not interested in talking.
Yeah,
they want to humiliate you for your
and
beliefs,
the dick measuring contest and trying to show off their knowledge and their I don't know. Just
it's to humiliate.
Well, it's like two crocodiles fighting over one another. There's a woman watching, and then the one is a flat earther, and the one's a globe head. The crocodiles are just fighting, and the one's going, "Hey, I got the Big Bang and evolution," and the sun goes, and then the flat earther goes, "Dude, it's geocentric. The gravity doesn't exist. It's just a different way. It's like it's like birds. I just see birds dancing. That's all I like when I see when you see birds dancing and trying to get laid, and they clean up their area and their environment, and they take a bath and they make sure everything's perfect. I see this when I talk to you guys, when I'm chatting with globe heads. I just see a bunch of birds and alligators. That's all I see.
Mm-hmm.
Guys might be right, man. Maybe some people do come from monkeys, just not me.
Now, what it is, what the globe beings do is when they engage with you, they're engaging first, if it's in comments, for the benefit of what they think is the mind of the observer. They think this will affect an observer to the point where they won't look further into it, because they assume that everybody else is more stupid than they are. That's what they do. They don't realize that some people will think, wow, that's a very abusive comment. I wonder why this person is so abusive towards this person whose video I haven't watched yet because I paused it so I can read the comments. They're calling all kinds of names. I'm going to see if this warrants this person being called these names. They'll watch the video and they'll go, turns out there are people who have a problem against this. Whether they, endorse the view of the video maker or not, they won't affect the people. This is based on psychological studies on what influences other people. And the psychological studies are based on the responses that people give. And people give the responses that they know are expected. That's what people do when they're doing psychological studies. That's what they do. They don't want to be the one that stands out from the rest.
Yeah, I know. I've seen those studies where people are all sitting at a table and they take them. Yeah. Well, I've seen those.
Yeah. So what they do when they engage in conversation, if they engage in debates, in person or through YouTube debates, what they're trying to do is they're trying to coax from you something that they can then try to pick apart. So if there's something at which you're not sure of what the answer, celestial South Pole, for instance, that's what they'll try to pick apart. So with the dancing that you're talking about, Dan, it's like, hey, dude, if you're going to sit there, thumping your chest, then I'm going to thump my chest too. That's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to go and take a shit on your lap. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, but this is exactly. If you want to break it down to like the animalistic sides of it, you can see all kinds of stuff, and what you're seeing is true. There is a lot of peacocking for sure. But with a situation where, if you look at the intellectual aspect, what they're doing is they're looking for something that they can start to try to unravel your argument with. So it's really easy. Once you know this, all you have to do is see what their premise is, respond to it. If you're going to engage, respond to it and give a counter. And when they move on without responding to your counter, you just bring them back to making them respond to your counter. You don't allow them to sift through your cards and see which one they want to pick. You say, no. This is my card. Now you give me a card. And you say, no, this is how it's going to go.
That's
I don't have your patience, Antonio.
That's at a level where you're debating people who do want to engage.
Yeah, right? But they don't want to engage because they want to learn. It's like Dan said. They want to engage because they want to find something that they can try. They want to find a scab. They want to find a wound that they can start picking at. That's what they want. So what you do is you say, hey, you just scratched me on my shoulder. There's no scab there. Now I'm going to scratch you where I want to scratch you. There's no you get a second chance to scratch me. No. It's one at a time. And I'll bet you I find where you hurt first. Because my next place I'm going to scratch is your eye. I'm not going to go for your shoulder. I'm going to go for your freaking eye, you stupid idiot. But they don't get it.
Freaking eye?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be gravity.
Yes. Oh, hey, just a question. What the hell happened with those gravity waves that were found? Did it turn out that they were just randomly inserted?
Well, to me, I can say that knowing that they faked those first ones, how can you take anything seriously afterwards?
So this is what I'm asking. Was the actual official conclusion that they were?
It was real. Oh, that's the last I heard, unless it changed the official story.
It's kind of gone away very quickly.
Yeah, because just like most of the stories, they got to bury that shit and forget about it so people don't bring it up again, make them prove it again.
It's science, bro.
It's science, bro.
Well, they actually came out with official articles, official scientifically backed articles. Yeah. That's such a joke. But they actually already retracted and rescinded their gravitational waves.
So they did. That was officially, they did say it was not.
They said, oops, you know what, we were wrong. Just like the God particle.
I made $100 bet the other day with someone I know, friend of a friend, that I bet him that they will not be sending those two people to space next year. That's totally not going to happen. There'll be some excuse or some reason to kick the can down the road even longer, right? So that's kind of what I'm hoping. I get $100 in years.
You might get $100 there.
I think so. Money well invested.
That's a great idea. That's a good idea to get a great way to get money. Make space bets and stuff like that. I like that idea. I'm going to start
calling
doing that
out and ask all their stuff. And all I do is just say they're just going to delay it. It just all I'm saying is it's not going to happen. Whatever they're saying is going to happen is not going to actually happen.
Synth, I'm sorry about this. I was distracted reading a comment. I'll ask the question now. It was about a question that they wanted us to discuss. So whilst I was doing that, because it's so late and because I'm such a moron, I didn't catch what you were saying. I caught something about a bet. What was it?
Oh yeah, so all I said was I made $100 bet with this guy I know that SpaceX will not be sending 2 people into space next year, right? That they'll delay it. Something will come up, something will happen, and it's not going to happen.
Brilliant. Okay, that's my next bet. I'll do that.
Do it for sure.
Yes.
I think it's a safe bet, right?
Yeah. Okay, so here's the question. Somebody was asking us. I'll read it the way it was worded, and then I will editorize it. That's okay. Given the Gleason's map, we don't live on the Gleason's map. It's slightly different, but given the flat Earth, if EPEs, so that's extraterrestrial, what is it? Biological
entities.
Yeah. If they are a reality, they are. Wouldn't it be plausible that they come from beyond the ice wall? This is a question from chat. Yeah. Yes.
I think that they do. I think they would come from other geothermal pockets across the ice.
This is, yes, so much easier for them to come this way. But this is the thing. In the globe, the people that have been studying it from the globe perspective, some of the theories that they have regarding, the massless transportation, so no longer having any mass and traveling and then having mass. This thing, for all we know, could be right, in which case it could, and this is only a could be, the possibility that the access will be much easier from another pond, sure, but the possibility that it could be from a different realm, not just another pond on let's call this horizontal plane
another layer.
Okay, let's call this a flat realm that expands. There could be other realms that they could come from. And I say this from some of the footage that has been recorded all over the world now of these weird vortices in the sky. The most famous one was in Norway. This spiral that opened up in the sky. Yeah. Okay. We have them from China, Brazil, Russia, North America.
Like a rocket spinning out of control in the sky. It looks
that's what they said. But we have these lines becoming these things, and then a little white dot flying out and making another one in a different direction. These aren't people just playing around with
fireworks,
hologram projectors. Okay, so my opinion, yes, definitely more plausible on this flat realm that they come from another pond.
Antonio, well, that has to be like, how much do you think there is any feasibility to the giant people playing with projectors, basically, and putting holographic images in the sky? I think it's legitimate technology. So
I don't think that's not.
Who knows then? Who knows what we're looking at then? Is it a hologram? Is it an alien from another? Get our hands on it.
It's this.
How do we know they don't look like us?
Well, this is the thing. The holograms, they're possible now, but if you look back in history, they weren't possible back then. But these things were still happening back then, being recorded, having myths created about them. So but the holograms are the totality of the sky phenomena. No. There could be a fraction, perhaps, maybe even drones. Those helicopter drones. They could be a fraction, perhaps. But there's no chance that they were going on in the 80s when those drones didn't exist, or the 70s, or the 40s.
No.
Sorry, George, you said
it's a new trick.
You said, George.
How do we know they're not amongst us already?
Well, okay. So
like, they don't have to look different than us. They could look just like us.
So here's the thing. Right? In the UK, you have a split situation regarding the monarchy. Okay, you have the people who say lizard people who eat babies, and you have the people who say socially important structures. Okay, you have these two very different and opposing views.
Yeah.
Those who say lizard eating babies, it's like, okay, that's David Icke camp, and that's okay. That doesn't mean therefore not socially important structure. Doesn't preclude it. Okay, it might be a malevolent structure, but it might not be. Now, here's the thing: within the camp of people who say socially important structure, you have the people, for instance, who are in charge of the royal family's security. These people are very high-ranking military whose job is to make sure. Synth, please mute yourself.
You can hear me?
Yeah, no, I'm hearing myself through. Yeah, brilliant. You have the head of the royal family's security. These guys aren't the head of the American president who might be assassinated, No. These guys have a completely different role, okay? In the UK, anywhere where there's any kind of monarchy, but in the UK especially, the head of the royal family's security gave an interview explaining that they are just like us and that they are here and that he himself has met with them and that it's time the media stopped making a mockery of it. This is not the former. This is not the former head. He's
still employed?
I don't know if he is now. He might have passed away because he was an older man. But when he gave the interview, that was his role. So
wow,
interesting, huh?
Yeah, but they all live long, eh?
They do.
They all usually, the elitists, royalty, they usually all break 100.
Well, didn't George Bush Senior just die recently?
No.
Wasn't it announced and then it was kind of retracted?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
you didn't hear it?
No.
Let me find some.
No, they'll keep them going.
Yeah, I actually, you guys are all talking about these EBEs in the flat Earth and the outside of the wall, and George said, what if they're right here? We don't see them. Well, that's obviously the case. But what if even weirder? What if these EBEs that we supposedly have all these theories about are actually the avatars of the people on the continents and the land outside of the wall?
So easy to use.
Sorry about that.
So literally the people who are tripping on complete in harmony and psychedelics on the outside of the wall with all the super stuff that they have, they're literally just having fun and playing little video game avatar EBE entities, and with I could see because I met EBEs and certain entities that were invisible previously, and then after 3 hits of DMT, I'm suddenly have little self-transforming machine elves hopping all around me, on top of me, and going in and out of me. But there's definitely that's it. There's definitely the connection there between the known and the unknown, or the physical and the non-physical.
Well, did any of you guys hear about, I think it was on Jaron's show, there was a magazine, I think in the 1920s, called Florida Magazine, and they published a story of a wealthy individual who sailed to Antarctica, and he brought enough supplies, for a couple months, and he sailed the coastline for weeks and weeks, and he found like a crack in the ice, like a river, and he followed it, and for weeks and weeks, and then it opened up on the other side, and he hit land, and there was people just like us, and they spoke our language. And he said, well, why don't you? He said, well, I'm from America. And they go, oh, yeah, we know all about you. And he says, well, why don't you come and visit us? And they said, no, because you people are bad. And then apparently you can't find a copy of this magazine anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like NASA bought the last copies in the 80s that were around, but apparently it's a true story. Like, I would love to find a copy of that.
So NASA bought the remaining copy?
That's what, if I remember correctly, Jared was saying in the 80s, NASA bought up all the copies.
Yeah, the story is the Iron Republic. It's an amazing story. It's fascinating. Now, one thing I found a few months ago, I was doing some research into map making, into world maps. I found a catalogue of all known world maps. There were hundreds of them. So, and it was a catalogue, and through this catalogue, it gave you the reference, the name of the map maker, the name of the map, if it had a name, the age, and where the map was published or where it could be found, where it was known to be. This list, number 42, was a map by G.B. Airy, published in the Edinburgh and Dublin and Edinburgh Philosophical Journal on, I think, 1859, something like that. Anyway, it said map by azimuthal map, G.B. Airy, the London, Edinburgh and Dublin Philosophical Journal, page. I found the journal. I looked through in the journal. Airy, the Astronomer Royal, is explaining how to create an azimuthal map. There's as correct as it can be from any point on the Earth, serving as the center, and there was no map there. It's discussing the map, but as you look through, there's no map on that journal.
Right.
So either the map was excised or it was never published and it was in this catalogue of world maps by error.
Let's find it.
42, huh?
42, yes.
Wasn't that the number of the Hitchhiker's Guide movie?
That was the answer, yes. Yeah.
Obviously, the author would have wanted a map put in his book, right?
Well,
so it was obviously taken out. I would assume.
It's a philosophical journal. It's like the one I just made a video earlier today where I show one of these type of journals. They're well written. The terminology is from the 1800s. They were so much more eloquent. They spoke much more clearly and they were more succinct. I read the treatise written by Airy. There is no map there. I scoured the whole of the document to the very end. It's a series of different people's contributions. I found his, I read his, I backtracked, I went, it's not there. It wasn't in the indices, it just is not there. And I couldn't find a page break in the sequence. I don't know what the hell. But if I was going to remove a map that was situated on a page, all that I would do is remove that page, copy with Photoshop the number, and just contribute that number, just shift all of the numbers of the rest of the pages by one, because nobody knows how many pages the last page was. It just ends at the last article, whatever page that is. But the point is, it wasn't there. I couldn't find it, even though the map was catalogued in a catalogue of maps. So when Jaron did the investigation into the Iron Republic and found that it just can't be found, any physical copy of it can't be found, that says to me, chances are it's gone down the memory hole. That's what 1984 was telling us. Winston Smith works in the Department of Truth, and what he does is he changes history. That's his job. He takes stuff that was public and makes it no longer be there, Orwell wasn't stupid, and when people think that Orwell was part of the elite, no, he freaking wasn't. He fought in the Spanish Civil War against Franco. That's not what the elite would have done, because the elite were funding Franco. So, no, this idea that he was some kind of spineless little propaganda mouthpiece is false. It is false. We have to think of way back then. We're talking 1948. Those were different times where newspapers reported stuff that was true, where television didn't exist the way it exists now to brainwash people, where the movies were just entertainment and weren't propaganda. Because let's face it, the movies were Charlie Chaplin and 1948.
Would you have had back then? Jeez.
Well, Abbott and Costello and Buster Keaton.
Three Stooges.
Yeah, Three Stooges. Yeah. So it was just entertainment. So the idea that if we think with our mentality, that our mentality is the mentality that's been here all along, we're stupid. It hasn't been. The mentality of our parents was different because they lived in a world where it was inhabited by a different set of circumstances.
Let me ask you something. Would it be possible that perhaps it was just less developed and that the deception was intended back then, but it was on a different level? So maybe they only looked at it as a level of, we'll put out this entertainment as a distraction. It's all just a distraction so people aren't looking at real issues. I don't know. I'm just postulating here, but maybe, I agree with you, that was a golden age of time when it was less tainted. But I wonder if the powers that be were still there and they were still kind of learning how to manipulate the entertainment industry or something. I don't know.
Well, back then the entertainment industry wasn't what we have now, know? So the entertainment industry wasn't a tool that they could learn how to use. They learned to use it between then and what we have now. So it was another tool for them. But I sincerely, let me take that back. I truly think that leading up to the 1940s, the Second World War, the majority of the people were more well informed on what was really going on in the world, apart from the people who were the physicists who were hoodwinked by the mouthpieces. The majority of the physicists, if you look at the papers of the Astronomical Society, they are reporting stuff that supports flat Earth. They are genuinely reporting what they observed. Now, they're not doing it to support the flat Earth. They're doing it because that's what their integrity is telling them they should do. So they make these reports. They all go and scratch their heads and ponder on it. And later, other people introduce things like the peer review system, where if you make that observation, it's not going to pass muster unless somebody else is going to repeat it. And all it takes for it to not pass muster is for nobody else to accept, to replicate it. That's it. And it doesn't pass peer review. That's all. That's how the gatekeeping works. That's as simple as it is.
Don't forget, I think prior to the 1920s, public schools didn't exist. You know, everyone had a community and they chipped in, and 10 kids were taught by one teacher, different grades. And when the public school system came in, I believe it was in Boston, the first one, the people rejected it. They had to bring the military in to force them to put their kids in public school. And that was the start of it. Once they accepted it, it grew. And that's what we have now.
Well, if we look at the education or the savvy, the intelligence or the ability, the intellectual ability of people, if we look back in time, we see that it's really fluctuated. If you look back, I have somebody passed me a document of the exam for 8th graders in the late 1800s. These are the years of Tesla. Okay, 8th graders. Now, they didn't have the education system, the public education system that we have now. They had community schools all over the place where the community chipped in, you know, because the parents were working. It's better if the children learn to read and write, and they can learn and maybe become a lawyer or whatever. So they had schools all over the place, but not all kids got to go to school, as we know. So the kids that were going to school, the 8th grade exam, I wouldn't have been able to pass it. I would wager that there might be 2 or 3 people in the whole of the flat Earth that would have passed it.
Wow, really high expectations, huh?
Just
really high,
incredibly high. And then it came down. I mean, in the 1950s, people in the UK were learning Latin and Greek. That's part of what they learned, was Latin and Greek. Then that was dropped. It's a dead language. Let's forget it. So they dropped that. If you know the root of your words, then it's a lot more difficult for people to trick you with words because you know what they're doing, okay? So, and you know if they're pushing a little bit, if they're trying it a bit too much, because they'll use words that are wrong. And you can say, you're just talking shit, aren't you? You said this word when you should have said that word, so you don't know what you're doing. And you can pull them to, you can hold them to account for it. So the education system has gone up and down, going back in history. Now we're at a stage with common purpose and common core where it's being driven down again. But we have a pushback because the common core is being pushed by social justice warriors, and there's a pushback. It's too much. They've pulled things too far. They've made victims where there aren't victims, and they've alienated and victimized people, like literally victimized people who wouldn't be victimized if it wasn't for the accusations. And I'm talking from personal experience now, but if you look at what's happened in Canada with the accusations that have been leveled at people, and then the things that people are using to justify the accusations, it's abysmal. It's an abysmal situation.
Which
accusation against? Say again. Synthetic. You said.
So I said, which accusations? Did you say?
The accusations of rape. You had a woman in a Canadian university.
Oh, okay.
Video herself with her boyfriend. Later, she became abusive. She videoed them having sex. She then got a bit aggressive with him and told him to smack her, to be abusive with her. And it wasn't his bag. So no, and basically he quit and he went home. Okay. Yeah. She then called rape, walked around with her mattress, took her mattress to her classes, took her mattress to her graduation. What? The boy had to pay his own defense, was completely exonerated, but she was not punished. Okay. Yeah. And the term rape was then stretched to say first, rape can happen in posterity. So somebody can have sex with someone, then the relationship doesn't work, then one of the people can claim that the other one abused them, even though there wasn't any actual abuse at the time. In Israel, a guy went to jail in Israel. He met a woman in a bar in Tel Aviv. They had a brief relationship, and later she found out that he wasn't actually Jewish. He never said he was. She just assumed he was. He worked in Tel Aviv. He spoke Israeli. She assumed that he was Jewish, and it turned out he wasn't. So she took him to court, and he went down for rape.
What?
Yes. So these things have been pulled so far that there's a pushback, and the pushback is, no, we're not going to have my child learn this weird gist version of mathematics. We're not going to have my child learn this gist version of the meaning of words. We're not going to have our institutions push these rules. There's a pushback. So even though the education is being driven down with things like Common Core and Common Purpose, there is a pushback. So right now in the UK, the government is doing the opposite. It's driving education up like leap years.
That's great.
Yeah, and it will happen in Canada too.
Yeah.
You see, with the internet and the travel between the nations, a lot of British people have found out that the education system in Finland is far superior to that of the UK. Now, for the UK to be low in the rankings of education, that's embarrassing for people like the royal family.
Yeah, you know? They can't have that.
No, and the consulates and the ambassadors, it's embarrassing for them. Yeah. So they're going to have to pull it up.
How are they measuring intelligence?
It's not the intelligence, it's the results of the education, so how much children have learned.
Yeah, I know. It's like these people are all celebrating that they're on a ball. They're like,
yeah.
Well, who's the most brainwashed country? Who believes in the ball the most?
Well, earlier today, David Chan shared in the chat. This is Gandhi shared in the chat. A speech by a Chinese professor in 2011 where he's presenting the flat earth to a class of Chinese students.
One of my buddies knows a tiny bit of Mandarin. I was already talking with him. I was going to say, ask him to watch it and decode the Mandarin and translate it. And he said he only knows a little bit. It said it would take him like 4 hours at least.
This here in Manchester, there's a renowned Tai Chi, a kung fu master who specializes in the soft arts, and he holds free seminars explaining the world to people. Now, I watched a few of his seminars. He wasn't explaining round or globe. He was explaining day and night, cycles of the body, cycles of nature, but I noticed he was not explaining circularity or globeness. So I'm going to go and pay some more attention and maybe talk to him. He lives in Manchester because he does it in English. This is the key thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Right, listen, guys, it's 5:20. Do any of you want to round up with anything? You've got, 10, 15 minutes each if you want. I'm going to go and make a tea.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go make another. Finish my drink. But yeah, I do have something. What's up?
Go ahead, Dan.
All right. Thank you. What? I'll actually ask you, Dredd. Fuck, my voice is going. What's the point of all the maps? Because we were talking about maps earlier. Sorry, my voice is a little fucked up. Maps. What are you supposed to do in The Legend of Zelda? You get your you check your map and it's all uncovered, isn't it? It's all gray and uncharted territory, right?
Okay. It's been a few years.
Yeah, and I'll bring up another game, Final Fantasy. It's all the map is all black. It's all gray. And you start off in a little dot, a little city, and in your little RPG character, you gotta go light up the whole map, don't you? Figure out where the whole map is, light up the whole map, and find the boundaries and the borders of the
that's kind of what games are about, hey?
And yes, so modern warfare games, you go on the map, and then you gotta find everyone. You gotta upgrade your weapons. Yeah, you gotta learn the map, because it's all black and gray until you go chart it yourself. And then you get like certain ores like metals and ores and crystals that you gather, and then you create weapons. Sound familiar?
Sure. Lots of games have used those methods, those ideas.
Well, that's what this world is. That's what society.
Oh
is.
yeah, it's art imitating life. Is that kind of what?
Society doesn't have a map. Their edge, the heliocentric's edge, is consistently expanding to infinity and beyond. So their model is it's like a video game that you can never.
But it's like finite, right? It's like it's a trap. It's
no, not theirs. Not theirs.
Yeah,
theirs is that's the observable universe. So they have that's as far as they can tell. So the video game that they've given us, the map that they've given us, is only chartable, and then it turns gray again and black once you get to the edge of their model.
Right.
So isn't that interesting?
It's a good way to visualize it.
And they make fun of us because we're trying to construct our own map and model, and we're stuck at the edge, so to speak, because there's this thing called the Antarctic Treaty.
The invisible walls that you get in.
But it does cost money to explore, something most people don't have. So
but this is what, when George mentioned the Iron Republic, the guy who ventured out of Antarctica was wealthy, and there are wealthy people in this world. In fact, there are wealthy people in this world who don't know what to do with themselves because they have a conscience and they don't know what to do. They fund schools. They fund irrigation programs. They busy themselves doing things that nobody ever hears about because it's not good for other wealthy people to have these people publicized. There's a couple in Germany, and this is what they do. There's people all over the place that do this. So being able to venture out of Antarctica is a doable a physically achievable thing. It's not impossible. Venturing out of the globe is impossible because first, we're not on a globe. We'd have to be in one in order to be able to leave. Second, what I already established earlier, that there's no boundary between the atmosphere and the vacuum. It's a fantasy thought that they have. Like I can say that Gandalf's coat has a thread count of 600 GSM if I want. But you can't disprove it. Just because I say something doesn't mean it's true. I'd have to be able to demonstrate it. So they can't demonstrate it. It is gibberish. The globe is gibberish. So when you say, okay, the outside, the limits of what we can depict from this plane ends at Antarctica because we're not allowed to go further, that's a completely legitimate thing to say. If you couldn't leave your country and you could only delineate your country, that's fine. You've delineated your country. Okay, we can do that with what we call the Earth, and it's a perfectly legitimate thing to do. In fact, people who say that there's no point in doing that are a bit retarded intellectually. They are a little bit retarded if they don't understand the importance of being able to depict where we live, of being able to say to somebody, this is me here, and this is you there. And the distance between us is this, and the time between us is this, and the differences between us is this. Not being able to do that is not a way of going ahead. In fact, the only reason the globe has ever had any legs to it at all is that fantasy story worked, because they could say, this is you here, and this is them there, and all of these fantastical things. It's the same as if I say, well, the reason Gandalf doesn't get cold is because he has a coat. You have a coat too, don't you? That's what keeps you warm. You see? You see now you can see that Gandalf has a coat. Okay. So the globe that they invented, it breaks down when you bring it down into scrutiny. New Zealand is not where they depict New Zealand. That's a big problem because it throws everywhere else out on the 24-hour rotation. Now, when we track the sun, which we're going to do in 2 weeks time, when we track the sun, we're going to establish these things again. We already established them last time, but we're going to establish these again and more. Now, delineating where we live, somebody who thinks that that's a fruitless thing to do or a stupid thing to do or not worthwhile or doesn't have value is literally intellectually retarded. And it's fine for people to say that people are intellectually retarded if the people really are intellectually retarded. And they are. And I can demonstrate it. Intellectually.
So did you hear my little map video game reality?
Yeah. So
Antonio?
yes, the rendering, you can only render so far. And they say, you've not rendered all of it. It's like,
I gotcha. I set out little. I'm like a spider. I create little webs, and I go. It's your fault. You're the one who flew. It's right there. I set it up. You watched me set it up, and you went into it.
yeah, and it's the same as their duplicitous techniques, where they can say 17 I don't knows, and one of our I don't knows suddenly means that they
Right.
that
Won the
their
argument.
argument is superior.
Yeah.
And
Well,
this
I've
is
noticed.
sorry, Jason. This is part of the problem that they don't. Some of them don't get this because to them it really does give the illusion that we are being superior. It's like, no, we're trying to arrive at an understanding. There's no superiority in an understanding. This is a dialogue. This is an agreement. This is a negotiation. It's not tyrant versus slave. You know, it's not superior versus inferior. It's a discussion. They see it through the parameters of superior continuously. So when you drive a point home, they see it as you having somehow damaged their integrity. And instead of them thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I had that wrong, and learning from it, they see that as a motivation to try and find a hole rather than accept what's happened, try to find a hole somewhere else, you know? And it's this game, this intellectual game that they're playing with themselves. Sorry, Jason, you were going to say Persian Scribe.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I hear it more and more. They're trying to equate what's happening in the heavens to what's happening on the flat realm, and somehow proving, like the Kepler's laws of planetary motion, that's making accurate predictions. How is that possible? Well, it's a construct. They've had how many years to create the math magics to prove that? The underpinnings of it all is completely, it's a mathematical construct.
Yes, and when you say, hold on a second, according to your mathematical construct, which works ad perpetuity, it works forever. According to your own mathematical construct, the sun is not there. Because the sun is at 48 degrees, according to your mathematical construct. But look, it's at 62 right now. And they say, oh, forget that, you know, must be this other thing, must be a glitch in the data. And this is something they'll say, it's a glitch in the data. No, your mathematical construct works as long as you look at within the mathematical construct. But when you take it out of there and you compare it to observations of the bodies up there, by the way, in the Royal Astronomical Society journals of the 1800s, when Airy was the astronomer royal, they refer to Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter as stars. So this idea that we have that Copernicus, back in the 1500s, 14th century, that they were establishing these things.
Hey, wait a minute. Those are stars from millions of light years away.
Yes, but this idea that we have, the concepts we have now of these planets versus stars, that's false. In the 1860s, they were referring to the things called Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn as stars. And these were astronomers. These weren't children who'd mixed up the terms. Okay, and if people want to check, then spend some time checking and learning, because they do. Not all of them. Some of them refer to them as stars. Okay, I haven't read anybody referring to them as wandering stars yet.
Yeah,
so some of them refer to what we refer to as stars, and those as planets. Yes, as planets. But some also refer to those as stars. So Venus, Jupiter, Saturn as stars, astronomers, referring to them as stars. This tells us the construct that we have right now, that they've had 500 years to work on, they've updated in the last 160 years. In the last 160 years, they've clamped down and they said, no, from now on we will refer to these as planets. Before that, it was a lot more sketchy.
Yeah, and that was way before they would have had any pictures from Hubble or anything like that. So
yeah,
exactly, dude. They don't even have.
Hey, have you guys watched? Sorry, Dan. Have you guys watched Curious Life video, the one about the Earth before the Apollo missions?
No.
He's got a really good. This is Curious Life. It used to be called Curious Life of a Flat Earther.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, he's got a short video, and what he's done is he's gone back and found depictions of the globe Earth that happen to look like the globe Earth that they didn't know looked like that until the Apollo mission.
Well, yeah, the universal logos in 1923.
Yes, all of those. So
they didn't show the.
How is this exactly the same when you 40 years before you went there?
But yeah,
Did they show the giant turtle?
You get a flight from Sydney to Santiago, and it doesn't follow the Great Circle route, and it doesn't go due east. It goes northeast. So Santiago can't be where the globe has it. So the globe has to be wrong.
That's where I am.
Globes that depict it the way they depict it in relationship to the US. It's wrong.
It's a glitch in the data. Right. Wow.
Isn't it an interesting world we live in, though?
Man.
Yes.
Yeah, it is now.
Learn something new every day still, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, anybody else? Jason, Persian Scribe.
I'm just still waiting for an explanation of if we're on an elliptical orbit around the sun. And don't get me started on the whole Red's rhetoric thing that you had, where he could not admit that the sun was moving, the whole relative thing. Anyway, but if we're on an elliptical orbit, shouldn't we be speeding up at a certain point in that?
Yeah. Yes.
Is that detectable? Has that been explained? Because I haven't found it.
Well, the sun is further away, therefore we must be further away. And then the sun is closer, therefore we're closer, and that must be an elliptical orbit. That's
We wouldn't
how
feel it anyway. It's gravity.
It's called a post hoc argument, where you have a conclusion and you back engineer the premises, and you then use these premises to support the conclusion that you arrived at. So it's a false deduction. You deduce the sun is further away. We must be.
I have a question.
Yeah.
My big question for Globers too is if we're spinning so fast, how come the centrifugal force has not forced either all the water or all the land to the outside equator of our spinning globe? How come, if we have continental plate shifting all over the Earth, why aren't these shifting masses of land coalescing around the spinning outer edge of our globe? They're not, right? They're free floating all over the fucking flat plane. That's why, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just want that. That's the question I put to them, and they can't answer.
Well, one of the things I want to look at, I haven't looked into it too closely as of yet. Although everything I seem to find shows that my assumption's right, that the sunspots are continuously facing the Earth. In which case, the sun must be rotating, much like the moon apparently rotates as it goes around the Earth. So the sun must be turning as the Earth orbits it for those sunspots to be visible to us all the time. What's that about? What's happening? Do we have an anchor to the sun?
Would it be related to a dome, do you think?
Huh?
Would it be related to a dome, the answer to that? Do you think maybe that the light, like they were talking about, the light is bouncing off the dome and coming back?
Oh, no. Wait. With the flat Earth, the sun is a huge question mark, as is the moon.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is in their heliocentric model.
Oh, okay.
If it turns out that the sunspots are continuously facing the Earth, and aren't on the other side of the sun 6 months later, and we're seeing different sunspots or no sunspots, and then we see the sunspots again. If that's not what's happening, then what the hell is keeping the sun anchored, synchronized to the Earth? What is this? Because they talk about the sunspots as the source for magnetic waves, that scalar waves that can bring down electrical systems.
Right.
Bodies.
Well, why are they always pointing to us on their heliocentric model?
Those dark, invisible bodies.
Yeah, and not only that, but the whole creation of the Earth, the idea is fragments of dust and tiny fragments of rock that must have been spinning and separating from each other in space from wherever they came.
Well, they came from nothing.
So at what point did one rock have enough gravitational pull to exert on the next to stop it from spinning off in space and make it instead spin towards it and increase the mass to make another? At what point did what caused
Yeah.
Dark matter.
function to stop
Dark
and
matter,
start
Antonio.
spinning. Yes.
And then at what point do you get these two masses that get this perfect balance where the gravity doesn't pull them right together and doesn't send them apart? You get this equilibrium of different sized planets and different distances apart, but it always gets this balance where they don't collide into each other. It's such fucking bullshit.
And also, if we go back, and I need to look at this, I'm going to make, if it turns out that the sunspots are continuously facing the Earth, I'm definitely going to make a video out of this, because I can have a great big clown klaxon sound in it, which is, here's the sun, and this is facing the Earth continuously, even though the Earth is not the biggest gravitational body. It's not facing Jupiter continuously. No, it's facing the Earth continuously.
So it's like the moon with almost proving a perfect, like an elliptical orbit, right? Just like the moon.
It's there over our heads every day. But when you ask a physicist, an astrophysicist, whether or not it's moving through space, they can't answer it. It's just it's a joke.
It is.
But yeah, I was thinking this last night. It's like, hey, you see, I know a guy in Spain, in the south of Spain, who calls himself the Solar Explorer. And he takes photographs from the south of Spain of the sun and submits them to astronomical papers. Now it's all online stuff. And NASA, they use his images of the sun. Okay, this guy. So the guy is 67, by the way, 6'4", I think. And huge. He's a bodybuilder. 67. Anyway, that's total by the by. But he was talking to me about the sunspots and how when he photographs them, and it made me think. Last night I'm lying there thinking, hold on a second, why would they be pointing? Why would the sun have an area of sun that's continuously pointing to the Earth and not pointing instead at Saturn or any of the other, or simply not pointing at the Earth? Maybe even spinning and causing the Earth to catch up. But not. Right. What is this? We are at some kind of geosynchronous orbit of the sun.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
don't they say the sun rotates?
You describing that model is fucking giving me a headache, dude.
Yeah, well, it's 22:06 in the morning here, so you're being a great big pussy complaining.
No, it's all good. Thanks for having us on, Antonio.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, man.
Always a blast.
Yeah, buddy.
It was nice meeting you, George.
Yeah, nice meeting you, George.
Hopefully you can join us again sometime, George.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one.
Cool. Persian, you were going to say something. I noticed.
No, it wasn't important. It was just regarding the sunspots. I'm asking. I don't know. I thought I heard one time that the sun rotates.
Yeah, it does the cartwheeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not this way.
Exactly.
Oh.
So that's what I'm because I'm going to Spain this summer. I'm going to meet with him. And I'm going to go, excuse me, Solar Explorer, why is the sun always facing us?
Well, Robert Shortman had all those Soho images on his site.
Yes. Oh, of course. He did. Yes. Mind you, what he showed was that of a period of years that he'd been cataloguing them, they were just looped. Do you remember?
Yeah,
but
I remember that.
I need to look into it further. If it turns out the sun is continuously, the same portion of the sun is facing the Earth, I'm going to drive that. I'm going to go and hunt Red Rhetoric down. I'm going to hunt Slice Barcane. I'm going to hunt Flat Earth Math. I'm going to hunt every single one of them down, and I'm going to say, find me a document that explains why the Earth is in a geosynchronous orbit of the sun. Find me one way it's been discussed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, before we go, I'd like to put this out there real quick, just before we go. If there's any musicians out there, Flat Earth musicians, that care to be involved in a community project, I'd like you to please get a hold of me. I can be reached at lazyzombieatheist@gmail.com. So get a hold of me, and I'll add you to our Skype group that we've started, and we're all just collaborating on music. Everybody's getting together. We've got 20 or 30 different YouTube musicians in there, and people from all over the world, men and women. Yes, I love it. Nice guitar, brother. So yeah, so anybody and everybody's welcome. You play a kazoo and you're interested, you just got some lyrics, I don't care. It's all good. Just get a hold of me if you're interested. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I will get a hold of you. I'll send you a track of me killing my bongos.
Dude, okay, I'll add you to the group. Sorry, I didn't know you were playing anything.
No, I don't play them. I just kill them.
Dude, how cool would it be to get all you guys together in one giant Flat Earth band, put together a giant concert?
That would be awesome.
A massive like Woodstock festival, Flat Earth Woodstock.
Dude, Flat Earth Festival.
You know what, guys? There's the conference coming up, okay? And it's a little bit elitist, I think, because there's lots of people that would like to go, but just simply won't be able to afford to go. But it's going to be prompting people. I can't be the only person thinking, hey, why isn't it cheaper? There'll be lots of other people thinking, hey, why isn't it cheaper? How could I make something cheaper? I could rent a great big, huge wedding tent, maybe even a stage, maybe even some musicians and some sound equipment, maybe charge $20 a head and have a Flat Earth festival. It's going to happen sooner or later.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, it will happen. We know it's going to happen sooner or later.
Let's get on it.
Yeah, in Canada. Let's have it in Canada.
Oh, that would be great. I know the perfect
Vancouver.
spot.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, that would be great.
Awesome. All right, man. I'm going to get out of here, Antonio. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks,
Bye, Dan.
See you later, everyone. Bye-bye.
Right, I'm going to go too. Thank you very much, guys. Everybody who's been listening, thanks very much. And yeah, see you again. Oh, George is gone. When did George disappear?
Later, George.
Just
later, Antonio. See you later, Dred. Love fucking talking with you.
Cheers, guys.
It was great talking to you guys.
Bye, all. See you, Jason and Dan. And thank you to George too. And don't forget Rock Vibrations, who was here very briefly at the start. Okay.
Yeah, she'll join us again, hopefully.
She will. Bye. Bye, guys.
Later, everyone.